Hey everyone, Keenan Gray here from DyeStat.com, bringing you another edition of DyeStat Discussions, just ahead of a very historic U.S. Para Championships that are coming to Hayward Field for the very first time in the history, as the USATF and U.S. Para have joined forces to have both championships for their outdoor World Championships, both in September, and then of course the Para Champs in New Delhi. And one of the athletes competing this week is not only, just a big figure in the para community, he's a big figure just in general on TikTok, social media. You see him all over. Ezra Frech, a two-time Paralympic gold medalist, joins us here on the program. Ezra, basically, I thank you for your time coming out here. I know you've been super busy. You were just on the Today Show, I saw, so your press tour has been busy. How are things been going? The last time you and I chatted was at Mount Sac, but there's a lot of things that have happened since then.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you for having me. Yeah, a lot of stuff has happened, a lot of good things. Life has been a bit crazy for sure, as far as just navigating the whole press tour. We've done a lot of media for this documentary adaptive that we have coming out very soon. But yeah, training's been good. I'm really excited for Eugene. I'm really excited to compete at Hayward Field and have this historic moment in track and field in general, where Paralympic and able-bodied competition combined for the first time.
Those that don't know who Ezra is, a little bit of background about him. He's originally from Los Angeles, California. Uh, Now competes at the University of Southern California. I believe is the first ever para athlete to receive a Division I scholarship to compete in a track program at least at the Power Four level. And as I said, is a two-time Paralympic gold medalist. Has competed at the world stage on numerous occasions. Am I missing anything else? I feel like I've covered the basics there.
Yeah, definitely covered the basics. Yeah, so it was a fun track season, getting to compete at USC for the first time, and then of course, we got to be strategic about how we make sure not to peak too early. We have national championships, world championships in October is when our worlds is. So it's a long season, and we've been real strategic about making sure everything's on point.
Yeah. Why is it so important for the para athletes to get an opportunity to compete at Hayward Field?
You know, we're fighting for proper recognition. And I've always said that Paralympic track and field is not an interest issue, it's an awareness issue, meaning that we don't have the proper awareness of the sports. It's not that once people are already aware to the sports that they're not
Mm.
interested in them. It's that first step. And so doing everything we can to elevate the profile of Paralympic track and field and hope that America recognizes it as elite and exciting as it is for able-bodied track and field, for example. And so this is the first step for the Paralympic side to be recognized at the same level, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and there was, of course, a lot of recognition last year when you all competed at Stade de France. I think, that was kind of like an eye-opening experience for a lot of people that didn't really know a whole ton about para athletics, especially not
Yep,
even just track and field, just wheelchair basketball, um,
absolutely.
soccer, volleyball. I mean, there were so many sports, so many different categories as well. That's the other thing too. You are T63, which explains to people out there what T63 category is.
Yeah, so in the Paralympics, you have every classification that basically, hold on, sorry, Jesus. I'm getting do not are you hearing those notifications?
Nope, nope. Keep
Oh,
going. You're
okay,
good.
you're not? Okay, good. Okay. Sorry. Um in the Paralympics, every person, you only compete against people with the same or similar disability. And that is to create a system of fairness so that I, as an above the knee amputee, would never run against someone who's just missing his arm. That would be totally
Mhm.
unfair. We compete against people with the same or similar disability. Um, and so that's what the classification system is. You have all different disabilities, different events for each disability. And I'm T63, which means above the knee amputation. And I compete against people who have an above the knee amputation or mobility that is comparable to an above the knee amputation.
I mean, there's various different categories, of course, as you mentioned, your own with. I mean, it's not just one leg. It could be people with multiple legs, right? That have amputated.
Correct. So it's an above the knee amputation. That's T63. An athlete that has two above the knee amputations is T61. And what happens is oftentimes they combine the classifications just because it's equally fair. I will compete against them as well. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, there's also visually impairment. There's, cerebral palsy, just anything that, like you said, is you're not missing an arm. There's a category for someone that has some sort of physical or visual disability, which
Exactly. It's like
which makes go ahead.
I was gonna say it's exactly the same way in boxing, UFC. You have weight classes. It's very similar to that. The same way we organize by by gender, we organize by weight, we organize by all of these different characteristics. In the Paralympics, the added one is just we organize by level of impairment so that everything is as fair as possible.
Yeah. And if when it's all said and done, I mean, I don't know if you've done the numbers, but how many categories are there?
Honestly, I'm not sure. There's quite a bit. There's definitely a lot of classifications. I don't know how many there are exactly, but I mean, once again, this is an opportunity to have nationals combined for the first time, where the average public, the average American viewer will be exposed and get an understanding of the Paralympics and these classifications. And a lot of them are pretty straightforward. Obviously, amputees running against amputees. It's not that complicated. You can understand that. You see blind athletes running against other blind athletes. You go, yeah, that makes sense. There's a couple that are a little bit more complex, but on a general level, the classifications are relatively easy to just conceptualize and grasp. And I think that's what we'll see.
How many years in the making has this been to get to the point we're at right now?
It's been a lot of years in the making, just based on athletes that have continued to elevate and push the Paralympic track and field profile in the United States, for us to even get to this point in the first place. Now, of course, the merger, right? USATF taking on US Paralympic track and field. I don't know how many years went into. I don't know how many years were involved in that specific decision, but for Paralympic track and field to even grow to the point where that's even a possibility, that's been many years in the making. So this is just our opportunity to finally be recognized alongside our able-bodied counterparts, and that's very special.
I know Tokyo was a complete anomaly just because it was, COVID and there was just not a lot of people there. Rather, matter of fact, is there was nobody at all there. But how have you seen, your particular sport growing, whether it's fans, whether it's participation? What's the biggest thing you've seen within the last 5 years, 4 years, I should say, since those Tokyo Games?
The Paralympics, and particularly Paralympic track and field, is just growing exponentially. We're seeing crazy rises in viewership, attendance, traction on social media, overall fanfare. The Paralympics is rising exponentially, and it feels like we've sort of caught the movement at the perfect time, leading into 2028, having games on an American soil. It seems like the perfect time for Paralympic track and field to really explode. And we're just seeing the numbers trending that way. And so it's a totally different feel. The landscape is totally different right now than it was 4 or 5 years ago when it was before Tokyo. Part of that has to do with the new age of social media and athletes in the movement who have grown big platforms and big brands. Part of it has to do with the Paris Paralympics and how successful that was and the way that that captured the eyeballs of the American public and the global community. And so I think we are finally seeing this really beautiful uptick in overall Paralympic track and field awareness. And I think it's just the start. I think it's only going to continue to grow. People are going to watch in Eugene. They're going to fall in love. And this is going to be the start of something that fills the Coliseum in LA 2028.
The one thing I've also, picked up on is you guys have marketed yourselves. And when the two people that come to mind, of course, yourself and Hunter Woodhull, I feel like you guys are the
Yeah.
most followed when it comes to para athletes. How did that start? What like was that something? I mean, of course, you and I we're pretty close to the same age. We're like, all right, we like social media, we like TikTok, we like Instagram. Like, how did that idea come about? It's like this is how I'm going to market myself to grow my brand.
I love making social media content. At my core, I enjoy it. I'm a creator. I'm an entertainer at heart. But then also in the Paralympic space, you have to do that in order to make a living. And so you think about the position that track and field is in on the able-bodied side, where in general, unless you're the 1% of the 1%, you don't make a really great living just by being good at your sport, right? You have to do other things to build your brand. It's 10 times worse on the Paralympic side. So I, as a Paralympic athlete, don't make money just by being good at my sport like you can for any other sporting league in the world, NBA, NHL, whatever it might be. We have to utilize social media to build our brand, to then provide value to society as a way to make money. And so I also have a sort of deep purpose behind the social media content that I make. I really want to grow the biggest brand possible so that I can help reframe the way society sees people with disabilities through my content. I mean, you think about it, it's easy to get caught up in the superficial numbers, likes, views, comment, follower, whatever it might be. But every single like, every single view, every single comment, every single follower is someone where disability is slightly more normalized in their eyes. And that's really powerful. So at the basic level, Hunter and I, it's important for us to build our social media brand and our social media following in order for us to make a living. But as well, for me, there's real purpose behind it. And hopefully I'm making a positive impact on society through the content that I make.
You remember the very first type of content that you made that went viral?
The first content that I made that went viral, I would say that there was a video back in 2021. This is the first thing that comes to mind, right before Tokyo, where my leg flew off in a race at the Chula Vista Olympic Training Center. And it was a mixed race. So I was racing against other athletes with different disabilities. And there was a wheelchair a couple lanes over, and the leg flew off. I fell, I rolled into the lane, and the wheelchair was 2 inches away from taking my absolute head off. And I threw that
Oh,
up on TikTok or Instagram at the time. And I mean, to this day, that video has probably generated 300 million views across all platforms.
I mean, we're looking back at it now and we're laughing at it, but like at the time, it's like, oh, this is a little scary.
For sure, it was scary. And if you watch the video, your reaction will be, "Oh, yeah, that was the reaction." But I literally remember leg flew off, crash on the floor. I roll into the lane next to me, and I remember feeling the wheelchair's wheels on my fingernails, and then pulling back like at the last second. It's a gnarly video. I'll send it to you.
That's yes, I would definitely would have to check that out, and of course, everyone else go watch that. This is how Ezra Frech became famous, almost getting himself killed by a wheelchair during the middle of a mixed class race. But as time went on, though, I remember watching last year on some of your TikTok videos. You did a countdown. It was like what 100 days till I win a gold medal at the Paralympics. How did that come about? Because I know your dad's also really good at marketing as well. He has his own agency, his company, and I'm sure he's helped you out in some way or fashion.
Yeah, we basically decided that we wanted to do a countdown to the Paralympics. And then I lost the world title about 3 months before Paris. And it just lit this fire under me where I wanted to prove to myself and prove to the world that, I was going to get the gold back. And so I did a 100-day countdown on social media where I made a video every single day saying today is day X out of 100 until I win Paralympic gold. So we changed it from doing it just to the start of the Paralympics, doing it to my high jump competition when I was going to win the gold. And then, sure enough, put that out into the universe, threw it into the abyss, and then grinded obsessively and ultimately made that happen.
And that one got a lot of traction, I got to imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely got a lot of traction. It was really exciting to see how that built and built and built. And then ultimately, I mean, it was all to drive viewership to the games. It was to help elevate the profile of the Paralympics, which I think it did. And it was cool to look back on the countdown and see after I won the gold, all the other videos before were then even going more viral because it was just lighting a trail, and that's exactly what we wanted to happen.
So, what was those videos geared towards? Was it the high jump or the 100 at the time?
The videos were geared towards the high jump. Videos were geared towards the high jump, because that was my bread and butter. That was my best chance to medal and to win. Excuse me. So it was all geared towards that.
Yeah. So you win the high jump, and you're like, all right. I accomplished what I needed to do. But then you go win the 100. And that was just kind of like the icing on the cake.
Yeah, the 100 was actually the day before the high jump. So on day 99 of the countdown, I surprised myself and I think the world a little bit and won the 100 meter. And so it was bizarre. I mean, you win the 100 meter, greatest moment of my life. I was expecting to medal, but wasn't really expecting to win.
Mm-hmm.
Came in ranked seventh. And you think about it, my life completely changed in that one moment. My phone was blowing up, thousands of notifications. Everywhere I was going around the village at that point, I was taking photos of people, and I couldn't just bask and take in the moment and appreciate it because the next day I was high jumping. So I literally put my phone on do not disturb, tried to lay in my bed and just forget that I had just won the 100 meter because the next day I needed to feel that hunger again for the high jump.
So what did that TikTok then look like the next day after it's like, well, I won a gold, but it wasn't in the event I thought I was going to win it.
Yeah, it was. I just took a little video after my medal ceremony. I was just like, stay 99 out of 100 until I win Paralympic gold. And I won gold in the 100 meter. Surprise, something like that. And then I think I said, but if you think that there is an ounce of complacency in my soul, you are 100% mistaken. Because I just knew high jump was going to be a battle and I couldn't come in with any sense of relief or complacency, or I was going to get eaten up. So,
Of course, you get the high jump title, which that was something you sought out for. That was what you went there and tried to go get. That moment of, being a two-time Paralympic gold medalist, did that sink in at all at the time when you were in Paris, or was that just, kind of just let it all happen in the moment?
it sunk in the night of the high jump for sure. When I was celebrating with the family and taking it in, and I have two big gold chains around my neck, it was sinking in right there for sure. I mean, I couldn't even process it really. It still feels like a dream. It still doesn't really feel real. You think about it, you spend your whole life training for this one moment, and then it works out better than you could have ever imagined it to be. And so Paris was just it was such a dream. And so thinking back to it, I mean, that night it was starting to sink in, and I was with the family and my friends, and we were talking about it, and it was hitting me. But it's hard to really process a moment that has that type of magnitude in your life.
Outside of winning two medals, or two gold medals, I should say, what was the best moment being in Paris, being at Stade de France, just the whole experience of the Paralympics?
I would say I would say I have a lot of respect for the way Paris hosted this Paralympic Games. I mean, the city was on fire. The French public, they were showing up, they were engaged. Stadium was packed. Stade de France was amazing and electric, and I couldn't have asked for a more exciting Paralympic Games. I mean, there's just no greater moment than, in my opinion, no greater moment in my life than when I was um, just crossing the finish line, waiting for my name to come up on the screen, stadium of whatever, 60, 70,000 people is dead silent. And then dot, 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 your name comes up first and you just, stadium goes crazy and you take off running. That's the moment that all little kids dream of. And then I got to live that out, which was surreal. But there was just so much energy. I mean, I was walking around the stadium and people are yelling my name and people are celebrating. And it really felt like the way a Paralympic Games should. And I really value the way that the French showed up.
And that was my not saying it was a concern or anything, but like I was obviously I'm sure you watched the Paris Olympics and just the Stade de France was completely sold out for all the
Yeah.
for all 9 days of the track and field. I had no idea if what it was going to be like, but it sounds like for the para athletes, it was sold out every day. It was just as loud. They were just as engaging as they were for the able-bodied athletes. I mean, you were there. Did you feel the same exact way?
Yeah, I felt the exact same way. And here's the thing, globally, Paralympics is seen on that level, seen in the same light as their Olympian counterparts. And in the US, we're behind. And so that's why Eugene and, national championships combined for the first time is a step in the right direction where now the US public should get behind the Paralympics in the same way that every other European country pretty much has. So we're behind a little bit, but Paris was a great example of what happens when a country, a fan base, a community really leans into Paralympics. You get some epic moments, and that's what Paris was for sure.
Well, and capturing those moments, which is now leading to what we're going to be talking about right now, is this documentary that has been in the making since the Tokyo Games in 2021. And it's not only just about yourself, it's about three other para athletes as well: Jamal Hill, Courtney Ryan, and then Josie Aslickson. I hope I pronounced that last name correctly. Two wheelchair basketball athletes, one para swimmer, and then of course yourself as the para track and field athlete. This comes out on Monday on Peacock. Of course, this is a three-part documentary, so it's going to be the first episode released on Monday. What can you tell us about what this documentary is about?
Yeah, so actually all three episodes will
All
drop
right.
on July 28th. So everyone will be able to stream on Peacock once they come out July 28th. And yeah, this documentary, it's called Adaptive. It follows myself, three other athletes on the US Paralympic team from before Tokyo all the way through Paris. And the reality is, these stories aren't really told. Paralympic stories aren't told in the way they should be. And it's not because the stories aren't riveting and captivating. It's just because there hasn't been the person who can take the risk and tell them. And that's what we're doing here, which is we have three epic storylines: myself, Jamal, and then the two girls on the wheelchair basketball team who are actually a couple. And so there's these three intersecting storylines, and at the end of the day, it's just a sports doc. It's what a sports doc should be: high level, raw, gritty, emotional, lots of laughter, tears, losses, failure, and then ultimately, in my case, peak of the peak, high of the high, the behind the scenes of all of that. Um, but at the end of the day, it's just a really entertaining watch. It's a really good show, and it's going to make you want to run through a brick wall after.
What makes this sports documentary different from the rest? Aside, of, as you said, being para athletes, that's different than, of course, the able bodies. But like, what makes this documentary different than the rest?
This documentary is so vulnerable and so raw. I mean, I told myself before I was going to do this that if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. I'm going to be completely open. I'm going to be completely vulnerable. I'm going to let the cameras be rolling 24/7 at all times. And that's what this is: moments of my biggest failure, embarrassment, anger, sadness. That's all on camera. Cameras were rolling that whole time. Moments of my greatest joys, successes, happiness, all on camera. Moments of my relationship with my girlfriend, intimate moments, all of that's on camera. It's literally the most in-depth look into my life possible. I mean, you're going to walk away from watching Adaptive knowing everything about me and knowing everything about what I stand for, who I am, what drives me, what motivates me, why I'm so obsessive and competitive, and all of that. It's all in there.
Tells you, about does it tell you about, how you lost your leg, how you, like, does it basically go from the beginning?
For sure, the disability journey is a part of it. How I developed confidence as a young kid. It's basically, I mean, I saw my birth on video for the first time in one of the rough cuts. Like, that's in there. You see literally my whole life, and you watch me basically grow up on camera. And so I'm just excited for the world to see it. I'm excited to see what everybody thinks. We've screened it a bunch of times and gotten a lot of positive reactions. They could just be, blowing smoke. You never know, but I'm excited for everyone to see it for sure.
When did it come about? Like, how did this idea start? I mean, as I said, I know your dad is heavily involved in the para athletes community, and you know wanted to shine a light on you guys. And you know what? This is an opportunity with this documentary.
Yeah, the documentary came about when my dad and our director Ryan Porush came together and had this idea of just following a few athletes to the Tokyo Games, and so they followed us all the way to Tokyo, and then pivoted, decided to follow all of us through Paris. And I mean, the depth of content that we have, I mean, just like so many terabytes of footage, so many epic moments that didn't even make it in because you only have a limited amount of time. But all together, it was a pretty crazy journey. And I'll tell you a funny story. What we did is we literally were running out of funding right before the Paris Paralympic Games. And the whole team decided we were going to take the risk. We were going to spend the rest of the budget to film in Paris, just banking on the fact that if I were to win, then we would be able to get funding to finish it afterwards. And so that's exactly what we did. We took that risk and it paid off. I won 2 golds. We were able to get funding. And then now we're on Peacock July 28th.
As you said, there's 3 episodes. Is it just like one episode's about you, one episode is about Jamal, or what is it?
No, each episode is follows all of us. So our stories are interwoven together, and you basically go from story to story throughout the episode. First episode is from Tokyo to the beginning part of the quad. The second episode gets us all the way up to Paris, but not in Paris. And then the third episode is just all Paris footage, all Paralympic Games.
And what led to choosing the 3 other athletes to go alongside you?
We wanted to choose characters that were really entertaining, had stories, and people we really loved and trusted. And Jamal I've known for a very long time, and he is a character, super charismatic, outgoing, bold, audacious kind of guy. And it felt like the perfect opportunity to help tell his story. And then as well, the girls have this beautiful love story where they fall in love. They're on a basketball team together while also navigating being an elite athlete and competing at the highest level, and the stakes and pressures and situations that come with that. And so it felt like the perfect ensemble cast in a way where we were all so different, but we were also aligned in the things we were going after. We were all the athletes have a real sense of advocacy and purpose. Jamal has an organization where he teaches lower income kids how to swim. The girls coach wheelchair basketball at U of A and give back in that way. And then I obviously have the nonprofit Angel City Sports. So we made sure that advocacy was a real through line for our athletes and who we chose. But I couldn't have been happier with the decision that we made, because the way our stories come together is quite magical, quite magical.
And for those that don't have Peacock and actually live in the greater Eugene Springfield area, you can actually catch a showing of it at Hayward Field Monday night. Would be the first episode of the 3-part docuseries. I can assume free to the public. Anybody can come in and watch this.
Yeah, I think there is like a sign up, I'm pretty sure, but I think we are opening it up to the public, if I remember correctly. And if you're in the Eugene and Springfield area, absolutely, tune in. And if you don't have Peacock, what you can do is just get a free trial and then watch it, but it'll also be, I've been posting about it a ton on my socials. And if you're out there and you want to, come meet me, I will be at, I'll be at nationals, and I will be taking as many photos and meeting as many people as possible. So I will, I'll stay for hours and hours to meet everybody. But yeah, definitely tune into Peacock. Come on, if somebody doesn't have Peacock at this point, Love Island's been on Peacock for all the whole summer.
I don't watch Love
Taking
Island,
America
but I
by
have
storm.
I had Peacock for all the Diamond League stuff, and of course that's not on there anymore.
Yeah.
But
anyone in the sports world that doesn't have Peacock, that's a shame.
But you have a cool opportunity. It sounds like you have like a nice little Q&A with Dawn Harper Nelson as well during that, which of course she's one of the great hurdlers in U.S. history. So it sounds like just in general it's gonna be really a fun night. But also, as we mentioned, this is a competition opportunity for you to showcase your stuff. I mean, I think this is the very first time that you're going to be ever at Hayward Field, if I'm mistaken.
This is my first time competing at Hayward Field, exactly. And this is a fun trip for sure, and it's exciting. We're gonna get to screen the documentary on Hayward Field. I mean, that's epic. But at the end of the day, this is business for me. This is a work trip. So I'm packing my suitcase, getting my briefcase ready, and gonna go qualify for Worlds. That's the plan.
Was there ever a moment during your childhood that's like, you're probably watching, trials going on at Hayward Field, and I'm like, I want to be there one day?
I think every athlete feels that when they watch the people that they look up to. And, I've definitely felt that. I've definitely always envisioned myself competing there and thought of how cool it would be. And so for it to come together in this way is awesome. And yeah, I'm excited for all of my fellow Paralympic athletes to take the stage. It means a lot to us, and so I'm very fired up.
Well, it's not like it won't be the first time that para athletes have competed at Hayward Field before. I mean, in years past, the Prefontaine Classic
Sure.
has hosted some para events as well. Which I'm curious, why weren't you at pre this year? This would have been a cool opportunity.
No, yeah, it definitely would have been a cool opportunity. I didn't get the invite, or else I would have been there for sure. But no, it's I'm happy that a lot of the guys on the team got the opportunity to go out and compete there. And yeah, there's a select few athletes that have been able to compete at Hayward Field. And I'm excited. I'm just excited to get out there, get my feet on the track, get my foot on the track, excuse me, and have a nice time. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, a lot of good energy, and I'm excited to hopefully have the whole Eugene, Springfield track community energy behind us and showing up.
Was there a track athlete you watched growing up, whether it was an able or a para athlete, that you were like, I aspire to be like this person one day?
Roger Townsend, my coach, actually. Roger Townsend, who greatest Paralympic high jumper of all time. I really looked up to him when I was a young kid, and I always thought, man, I want to do what he's doing. And then in 2023, he offered to come on as my coach, and he's a mentor, older brother figure, and so it's that's probably the person that I looked up to.
And he's still competing to this day.
Yeah, he'll be competing. He'll be competing at nationals and worlds, and definitely LA 2028.
What's it like having a coach, but also it's kind of like a teammate too at the same time?
For sure, he's definitely this past year more into a teammate role, just because I'm obviously at USC and training with Jeff Petersmeyer, who's also his coach as well. And so we are teammates, but he's always will always be my coach in a way. And but it was definitely fun leading into Paris. He's one of my best friends, favorite people in the world. And so to get to have that type of relationship with someone that you literally borderline consider to be your family, it adds a new personal level of connection to everything that you're doing.
So what's going to be your first event that you compete in this week?
I long jump on Friday. And then I run the 100-meter Saturday at 1 p.m. or something, and high jump at 4 p.m. on Saturday.
How will you take in that moment when you're on the runway for the very first time in that stadium?
You know, I tend not to get super starstruck by people, places, arenas, events, especially when I'm competing in them, because I have to just be super locked in. So I visualized that moment a bunch of times in my head and mentally prepared myself for the range of emotions that I might feel when I'm out there. And so I am prepared to not be phased by the stands, people, maybe impact of what this means for the movement. The same way in Paris, you can walk out into that big of a stadium and be overwhelmed by how amazing and epic and special this moment is. Or you can be the guy who prepared for all of that and then went out there and it felt like home, and you go and do your job. And so for me, this is a very special moment, and it's going to be epic to compete there. And I'm super excited. I'll probably take in the track on the few days before I go out there and compete and sort of have that moment. But when I'm out there competing, it will be business.
Well, the last time the USC Trojans were at that stadium, they were able to take home a nice little national title. So I think
Yeah.
Hayward Field has been pretty good to the men of Troy. Have you had a chance to talk to Coach Watts about that, what that moment was like for the program? And I know it was a tie with Texas A&M, but it was their first national title in God knows how long on the outdoor scene.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, the whole team was really fired up, and I was so excited to be watching and supporting. And yeah, those guys work unbelievably hard. Coach Watts is amazing. The whole USC staff, the whole team, everybody put their heart into this. And so, despite it being more dramatic than probably was necessary for us to still end up on top and win indoors and outdoors, that's a pretty successful season, in my opinion. Probably the most successful season you're going to get in Division I track and field. So I was very stoked, and I'm fired up for the team, and I'm excited for all that's to come for these guys and this coaching staff. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, not only for your USC teammates, because there's gonna be a handful of them that are gonna be competing. Johnny
Yep.
Brackens, of course, he'll be there competing in the hurdles, and I'm sure JC Stevenson is also going to
Yep.
be there as well. But for you guys as all para athletes, I mean, this is an opportunity, a historic opportunity to showcase your talents to the people of Tracktown, USA. I mean, there's a reason Tracktown, USA is called Tracktown, and for the first time, they're bringing in the para athletes. So the last thing I kind of want to leave with you is there any message that you want to send out there before all of you take on the track and go show everyone out there that para athletes are just as good as the able-bodied athletes.
My message to all of the Tracktown USA residents and fans and people who will be coming out to nationals this year is let's show up for all the Paralympic events. We are a part of the family now, and we are ready to put on some great, entertaining, exciting performances for you all. But we need you all to lean in. We need you to step in, dive headfirst into the whole Paralympic world, and I can promise you it's going to be absolutely, absolutely rewarding.
Well, you heard it, folks. Ezra wants to see everyone there at Tracktown USA at Hayward Field this weekend for the first ever U.S. Para Championships at Hayward Field, a historic weekend alongside the USATF Outdoor Championships. Ezra, always appreciate your time catching up. Wish you but the best this weekend. And, just like I said, take in the moment, have as much fun as possible. But as you said, try to lock in and secure a couple more spots on that world team. So really appreciate your time. Good luck this weekend at Hayward.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.